Welcome back to Cowboys Not Eggheads, one of the top 5% podcasts in the entire world, heard in 104 countries the last I counted. We are pleased to have the third installment and probably final installment of what I call you guys? Sam's Army, the girls, whatever. And what I thought I'd do today is something fun and light. And throughout the year, I see things or I see statements that remind me of you guys, maybe one of you in particular, or maybe all three of you at once. And so what I thought we'd do, just as kind of a fun thing, is these are basically cowboy observations that make you think. That's what I'm calling this. So we're gonna throw out 5 cowboy observations, and there's no right answer. We're just going to unpack them and see where the conversation goes. So welcome back real quickly to Jillian, star of the Jillian Show, family of 4 children, who's busy all the time. Welcome back to Brandi Preston, who is 8 months pregnant, who's also very busy with her sales job, and to Bri Siegert, who's got at least half a dozen jobs, but she's trying to lighten her load. But you guys are the 3 of the busiest people I know, so I really appreciate your time today. So here we go. The first observation today is taken straight from Jillian Watts and her podcast, or maybe it was the Instagram something that you posted, and I really liked it. And that is, your brain is not your soul. Your brain is not your soul. Yeah. Who's going to take this bad boy? I liked it. So the reason I liked it is because it kind of separates that think and feel thing almost for me, that dichotomy that I'm going through in this little journey of this podcast. Apparently I'm feeling more these days, but I'm a thinker first, and my brain is always the one that kind of controls how I react to things. But my soul is who I am. It's my identity. Getting sober almost 3 years ago has really helped with that process as well. It's been a tremendous amount of clarity. So I really thought it was cool, Jill. Where did you come up with that at?
I'm sure I saw it somewhere, and then it stuck to me in the way that I worded it. I feel like the notion of it was very poignant to me, but then when I process things on my own, I feel like I have to give it different words, if that makes sense. And I think for me, and probably we can all relate to this, and I'm sorry it's raining really hard where I am, but I think for me it is helpful to separate the two and to make it known out loud and kind of on the forefront of as I'm living, because I often feel like a push and pull between, is this something that I'm filtering or handling logistically, like the machine side of things, which I would say is my brain, or is it something that I'm handling or looking at in a more soulful, or I guess a spiritual way, or a more intuitive way. Now, as I think about that, it's something I think there is time and space for both of those things. Sometimes you should be leading with your head, and sometimes you should be leading with your heart. You need both of those things together. And so just knowing that they're not the same thing, for me, lets me have clarity and kind of a sense of control or security in my life as I'm moving through it, if that makes sense.
That reminds me a lot. Have you ever read the book, The Chimp Paradox? Have any of you read that or heard of it?
No.
Chimp?
The Chimp Paradox. It's honestly one of the best mindset books I've probably ever read, because that's basically what it is it separates your brain into 2 halves, like your chimp brain and your human brain. And the chimp brain is what our reaction is. That's our initial reaction, and it's our survival side, where it's hunger, food, sleep, sex, whatever this thing is that happened to us, I'm immediately going to respond with the first feeling I have. But then there's the human side of things that if you slow down and wait a second, start talking yourself through the scenario, it's okay, is this really that bad? And your human side kind of separates, what your reaction is versus your response. So very highly recommend that book, but that's what that reminded me of.
Brandi, how is it 8 months pregnant? How does that apply?
I think of it in a couple different ways. Well, the first that came to mind is kind of a political issue, but the pro-life issue. I work in prenatal genetics, and so our abortion ban in Nebraska is at 12 weeks, but a lot of times people don't know if their pregnancy is viable at that point. And so when they learn information like your baby is, not viable and it has like a trisomy 13 or 18, and then we're saying that this mom just has to wait for this baby to die inside of her, my brain says that is not fair. But then my soul says, but that is a human life,
Yeah.
So that's one thing I really, in my day job, I struggle with, because it's, I've had a number of losses, and I do think a life is a life. And however long that life should live, it should be given that opportunity. But I also don't think a mom should have to wait to start bleeding while she's walking through Costco. But I think we struggle with these kind of tugs every day, right? Like for me, that's one. Or I think of like COVID, a lot of people really got caught up in the mask mandates and the vaccines and lost friends and neighbors and things because of that. When, in our soul, it's like we should be loving everyone for who they are, not if they got a vaccine or if they're wearing a mask, and kind of getting caught up in those things. So the things that came to my mind were political in nature, but
Yeah.
very thought-provoking, Jillian.
You're probably the most political person on this podcast, Brandi. More so than me, even.
I was gonna say, really?
Very passionate. Yeah, no, really. Brandi's very passionate about these things, clearly. And I love it. I love it. Okay, the next one is a Sam Fisher dandy. I don't think anyone's ever said this before. I'm lying. But I love it. I love it. And it is 4 words. 1, 2, 3, 5 words. It's 5 words. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. Thoughts? Feelings?
I have a
I think
lot.
of it immediately. Like I think of CrossFit, and competing. And, sometimes people show up to a workout and just hope that they can go at it guns blazing and hope for the best without strategizing or preparing beforehand. I think of, a lot of competitive workouts, like if you don't practice them, and you just go into it blind, trying to use hope as a strategy, which doesn't always pay off. And usually when the pain arises, you don't have a plan, and then you forfeit to your preparation, which is none, right? So then you've already lost the workout and you've lost the competition. And I'm also thinking that because I had an old coach that used to say that.
Yeah, there's no substitute for good old-fashioned hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when I hear a lot of people, and I guess like fitness journey related, a lot of people who, oh, I wish I could do what you do, or, one day I this, and I'm like, we're the same people in that sense. And I think a lot of people, they think that other people who are doing things separate from them are different in that way. And really it's not. It's just that you cannot use hope as something like, I think it's important to have it, but I think it's too broad and it's too loose and there's nothing actionable about it. And so hope to me is almost a word I don't even like, because I'm like, it gives the human being nothing to hold on to. Like it's just this thing floating around in your brain that makes you maybe feel positive, but then at the same time, if you're having hope, that's insinuating that there's something wrong or something that you don't have, and there's really nothing concrete that you can connect yourself to try to move in whatever direction or do whatever you're hoping for. So I agree 100% with that.
Well, it's also relying on external factors that you can't control. So it's like anytime you're in a situation that you have to focus like more internally, like if you're hoping that, people buy your product, or if you're hoping the competition just decides to like not try very hard that day, that's a really fickle strategy to rely on. And you should really just be focusing on the things that you can control, which is yourself, your actions, your preparation, things like that, not anything outside of you.
Now, I will say, I'm the guy that said the things. I'm about to get the softest position on this thing. Hope is definitely not a strategy. If you want to do X, Y, and Z in CrossFit or building a business or selling a product or, as you say, any actionable item, it's not a strategy. It's it's not what's going to get you. However, it is a very emotional thing that people do wish for and relate to. I go back to, we're going to get political again. I go back to 2008. Barack Obama was running for president. And what did he say? All he said was hope and change. That's all he said. We need hope. We need change. It was a very emotional, and that's why, clearly it's like fluff. You can't change a country by hope, but you can direct a country by hope, and you can lead by having a spirit of hope, I suppose. So I think about that, and then I think about the line. I think maybe we discussed this in a previous podcast. I can't remember, but the line from one of my favorite movie of all time, which Jill probably still hasn't seen, and we did discuss this, is Shawshank Redemption. There's a pivotal scene in that movie where there's a discussion between the two main characters, and one of the characters is a crusted old inmate, and the other character is someone that's looking forward, who ends up, spoiler, breaks out of the damn prison. But it was hope. They were talking about hope, and it's the hardened convict said that will get you killed in here. Hope. I mean, get that out of your mind. But the other inmate who did end up breaking out the next day said, "Well, get busy. You better get busy living or busy dying." Anyway, it's a really cool moment in the movie, and it harnesses the power of hope. But the guy didn't solely break out of the prison because of hope. He dug out of the prison because he was patient and dug a hole in the wall over a course of many years. But it was the hope that kept him digging that hole. So anyway, I just I don't want to say the hope is bad, but I think if you want to get from point A to B, it's not going to get you there. You got to have, it's a macro thing. It's not a micro thing. I think what I'm trying to say.
I was just going
You
to
got
say,
to have it in unison with like your own self-determination.
Yeah, it's something that like opens the door for something else, but I think you can't just bet on that in isolation.
Yeah, you have to have a plan. You have to work for it, but you can hope that it all goes according to your plan. You don't have to go to plan B,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a positive, and it's a positive thing in a negative world. Anyway, okay. The third one is definitely a Sam Fisher one. Brandi may have heard it, and I actually I didn't realize that I adopted it so often in my career, but I repeated it as a mantra over and over and over again. And I don't know, a year or two ago, I did a podcast with people I'd worked with 20 years earlier on a presidential campaign, and they quoted this back to me. I'm like, yeah, because I was leading them, and that is sleep when you're dead.
I like this one. I mean,
all the millennials are like, ooh, but balance.
Yeah.
There is no balance. Go ahead, Brandi. Did you remember me saying that when you worked for me?
All the time. Yeah. I mean, especially like, the week before an election, it's like we were up all hours of the day, and sleep when we're dead. We'll sleep at, the day after the election. There's work to be done. So, well, I just think there's so much to see and do and experience in this life if we just sit here and wait for things to happen or, come up with all these excuses. Like, you'll look back at the end of your life and what a waste, So take opportunities as they come and live it.
Yep. Going back to the Goggins thing, and that is, he says he wants to, when he's done with his life, he wants to take like a washcloth and just have every single little tiny ounce of that water out of that washcloth. So that's what, I'm with you on that.
I'm going to give a surprise answer here. So my word of the year this year is actually rest, because I could feel the burnout. And I think it's really important that, because I'm a person that goes like a million miles an hour, and I guess sleep when you're dead, but like your cup also has to be full. I think that a lot of especially moms, just high performing people who have so much on their plate, it's really easy and it's really, I guess, socially acceptable to like watch people push themselves to the brink. And you can do that for a short amount of time, but that's not like a long-term way to live. And so I love that, like, for me, I love that I can do that for the short term, but it was like, as I was looking around, I'm like, this short term is kind of looking long term, like it's a little longer term than what I was thinking. And so I have to like find some way in my life where I can replenish. So I still love Sleep When You're Dead, but like I now have to at least 6 days a week, I'm like meditating for 20 minutes and it's a block in my day that I have to have, or like it's not going to be great for myself or the people around me. And so I think I love Sleep When You're Dead, but I think with that you have to have something that you're still pouring back into yourself and giving yourself what you need to be able to keep up whatever pace. And I think that looks different for different people for sure.
Jillian, I think that's a really good point. Like I find myself, I work in sales, and so it's like I'm busy all day and then I come home and do all my administrative stuff at night. And then, next thing I know, it's bedtime and I'm like, I haven't done anything with my family tonight, you know? And I think Sleep When You're Dead, it's like we need to be prioritizing the things that really matter most. And I think we can easily get caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday life and the things that we need to check off the list. But are we really pouring into the things that really matter most? And I know I'm guilty of not doing that. And that's been like one thing we've been trying to prioritize in our house is like, let's do things that we want to do and that, make us happier, because doing my administrative work till 8 or 9 o'clock at night is not making me happier. Right. And I'll look back, at the end of my life, I'll look back and I won't, I'll regret not spending time with my family, or my son's only going to be, little so long. And I don't want to look back on, I spent all these nights working instead of playing games or playing catch or, doing Artemis things. Yeah, I think we just have to prioritize what's most important.
Is he jazzed about that right now?
Oh my gosh, it's so cool, you guys.
Yeah.
I bet witnessing
I texted
him
Brandi
that.
It's so cool.
I was like jacked up. I'm like, I don't know who's more excited right now, me or Peyton. I mean, that was so cool. Yeah. So cool.
He tells me he's going to go to Mars. And I said, well, I hope they have FaceTime because I will not be.
Go Eggheads. Go Eggheads.
Yep.
All right, Bri, what do you think about Sleep When You're Dead, Bri?
I mean, Jillian kind of pointed out something that she said something about this is short term, and I sometimes look at it as seasons. Like there's just gonna be seasons where like you're busier, you're not busy, but I'm currently going through that. Like I'm working 2 pretty full-time jobs right now and phasing out of one just to like be able to breathe a little bit, because I am working every day and bring work home at night and I'm staying up late to finish things, and and like on my phone all the time responding to people and stuff like that. And that does, like, I've been through it before. I know what that feels like, getting to that point. But because I work with people and I'm serving people a lot, if I let that happen, like they start to take a hit too, because it starts to get hard to respond to people. And then, my phone goes off and I just can't even look at it. Like if I get to that point, I'm not serving anybody, even though for like a short period of time, I'm like, rock on, like I can do this forever. I can't. And I just working with people one-on-one, I always like urge people to be careful when they say like, oh, this season's almost done, or like, when this season's over, I'll be okay, because usually that season gets over and then something else pops up, and like the grind just never really stops. But if you're constantly like taking on too much or just constantly saying yes to appease other people, like that's where you can start to get into that like burnout area, and that takes like time to recover from. Once you're like in the burnout phase, it's almost too late. And then you have to pull back on a lot of things versus seeing it ahead of time and seeing, if I take on this extra thing and I'm not seeing my family, or I'm not spending time with my boyfriend, or I'm not able to like, I don't have the mental energy to like pick up the phone when my parents call, that's not a good thing. And I think that in service industries, whatever that is for you, which I think in some way everybody kind of works in that, but however you're serving people, you can't serve from an empty cup. And it's so true. Once that cup starts overfilling, it takes way more work to try to dial it back than it ever did before.
Yeah. And I will say that Sleep When You're Dead was created out of deadline, because I was in a deadline driven industry. And when you have to make deadlines, there's just, you have time is your key resource. And so, what I really meant by that, I mean, it sounds hardcore and this, that, and the other, but what I really meant about that is focus. I mean, I think that's really what that means is don't jack around, get your shit in and get it done. And if we've got to work at 2:00 in the morning to get the shit done, we're going to work at 2:00 in the morning to get the shit done. And I have worked at every hour that exists in my life. At 3:00 in the morning, having a client tell me I've got to change a TV ad that's got to go up in 12 hours.
Well, it's also a season too, like that's just a season that you just can't, you can't be distracted.
That's right. And that's why after election seasons, I typically, because you're going 5,000 miles an hour and it ends. Mm-hmm. And guess what happened? Yours truly got depression. Like depression. Yeah. I ran a mayor's race one time and it was just like, it was historically, it's probably one of the best. Well, the hell with it. I'm going to brag about myself. It was one of the best, hardest fought victories in Omaha mayor history in 2017. Brandi knows, she was there. And, victory. We made it, we made it. And then the next day, the entire staff packed up their desk and left. And I'm sitting in this office by myself, very quiet. And I've never had a wave of depression hit me like that, because I wasn't sleeping when I was dead, and now it's all over. Now I'm dead, I guess. But it's a seasonal thing that I always would say, and I don't really expect people not to sleep. I now, I still have this thing. I've had this thing on for 6 years, and every night I look at my sleep. But it's important. It's really important. So.
Well, and with that, Sam, we always had the best people that we were working with. These are some of your best friends, Yes. And so when that would end, it was just these people that I've been in the foxhole with, and we've been in the trenches, and we've been consumed by this for the last 9 months or whatever, and now everyone's going their separate ways, and it's sad.
Well, that happens in sports too, in the Olympics. People will win medals, and afterwards it's well, what now? Or when they retire from this amazing career and they've had this purpose they've been working towards forever, purpose being a really big word there. They've been working towards that for years and years, maybe most of their lives. And then it's done and it's they have all this to be proud of. But yeah, it's now what? That's
one big empty void. Yeah. Yeah. Professional athletes in particular. Yeah. That's why a lot of them get into broadcasting or whatever, because it just keeps them connected somehow to that. Where you at, Jillian? Where'd she go?
I think we lost her.
We lost her. Okay. The next one is, the story you tell yourself becomes the life you live. The story you tell yourself becomes the life you live. I can't relate to that, honestly, because I never told myself a story.
That is a very, a big mindset tool. Your words become reality. I used to train with a person that would say, don't put it out there in the world. The second you start complaining or the second you speak something negative, you put it out in the world and now it becomes real. In the words, we talk to ourselves more than anybody does ever. We're our biggest coach, cheerleader, or I guess enemy. And it's depending on how you're talking to yourself, So if you're always saying negative things to yourself, those are going to become reality. And it takes a practice to get out of that vicious circle that you're in.
We've talked a lot about victimhood in past podcasts, and that is the first word that came to mind with this question. But I think it's all about perception, right? How you perceive your life, and you can take it different directions. But I think, Bri, you hit it right on the head.
Hey, Bri, do you know if can you join if someone's recording? I assume you can, right?
I don't know that anyone I've ever seen that, but I feel like you should be able to.
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Okay. Hi, listeners. We're just making. Oh, here we go.
Are you
my
talking?
Internet? Yeah, my internet dropped from working on hotspot. Okay, she's working on her hotspot. We'll keep moving. Okay. Manifestation is believing in a future strongly enough that you start behaving like it's inevitable. Manifestation is believing in a future strong enough that you start believing like it's inevitable. Belief alone isn't magic, but belief can drive the actions and persistence that eventually make outcomes possible.
I just heard a quote the other day that said, doesn't need evidence. You don't need evidence to know that you can accomplish something. It comes from within. And that struck me so hard.
Yeah, belief is believing in something you can't see.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of times people
Or we're talking about manifestation.
well, yeah, just the word belief. But that too, like when you manifest something, I was joking with my coach on what day is today? Sunday?
Sunday
So
the 12th of April.
yeah, so Wednesday I was telling him like, oh, I just need to, put my phone away during training. I just get distracted or like start getting messages, and then before I know it, I'm over in a corner just texting for 20 minutes. And he was like, well, why don't you leave it in the office or something? Just like basic tools that I should know, but needed to talk through it. And then on Thursday night, I dropped my phone in the bathtub and it broke. And all day on Friday, it wasn't working. And I messaged him from my coaching app, and I was like, "Hey, I think I manifested not having distractions during training too hard to the fact that, or to the point that I broke my phone." So small scale manifestation, but it happened.
Oh man. So, Brandi, I'm going to repeat that for you because it's a big sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manifestation is believing in a future strong enough that you start behaving like it's inevitable.
Well, I think belief and manifestation are necessary to like get you motivated. And then once you're motivated to do something, that kind of gives you the willpower and the internal drive to go make it happen, right? But if you don't believe in yourself, or you don't kind of like envision that as reality, it's not going to happen, right? We all have to, if we have a big dream or a big goal to go after, like you have to believe that you can do it and then have the steps in place to work to make it happen.
Yeah, and it's also comes down to it comes down to like believing in the person you want to be, because I think a lot of times when people have goals, they think of it as like things that they have to do and not a person that they need to be in order to get those things accomplished, if that makes sense. Be who you want to be, not what you want to do.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure.
That is all my observations. So here's our closing question. Jillian, where are you? What's a piece of advice you chose to ignore?
Ooh.
There's so many.
Are really? Well, I think I was thinking about that question today. Like, I don't know if I can answer that. I mean, to me, it's something like maybe my parents told me to do. Like, you're not going to drink tonight, or you're as a kid, you're not no partying and no drinking, or I can't think of anything like career-wise or professionally where someone gave me a piece of advice that I chose to ignore. It's hard for me, but maybe you guys got something.
Career-wise, I'd say when I was putting in my notice, I was told not to give more than 2 weeks, and I did. And then, like all my jobs, I gave more than 2 weeks, and I regretted it like every time.
Well, okay. As an employer, I sure appreciate that.
You'd think.
Yeah. Well, if yes, but yeah. Any advice that you chose? Did I ever give you advice you chose to ignore?
No, not not that I can think of off the top of my head. The only thing that really comes to mind is really messed up, but my first marriage, people told me don't do it. And I had a young baby, and I thought that that's what I should do, and I should not have. And that's the one that comes to my mind. And I'm like, it's so messed up to say, but
it's interesting.
I wouldn't
because
trade my son for the world.
Of course not. It's interesting because you thought of a good advice that were given that you ignored. I was thinking bad advice where I'm glad I ignored it. You can look at it that way too. Hold on.
She's back just in time for the closing question.
Invisible.
I'm so sorry, you guys. What the heck?
All right. We're on the closing question. You're just in time.
Good. Perfect. I'm excited.
And this one actually, because we're kind of stumped on it, honestly. What's a piece of advice you chose to ignore, Jillian?
I would say a big theme And one that I'm actually dealing with right now is the.
Hold on, Jillian. Do you have multiple tabs
Okay,
open? Riverside's telling me to
maybe.
close other tabs.
Okay, let's see. Oh, here. Leave. Am I leaving the wrong one?
No, you're still here
Is
with
this
us.
better? Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Thank you.
Come back.
You're there. We can see
Okay, does
you.
that seem better? Wow,
Yep.
good. Luck. You
Okay.
guys are lucky. Okay.
Yes, we
I
are.
was crying during that, just so you guys know, but I'm better now. Okay, so
Okay.
a piece of advice that I think it's important to be honest. I think it's important to be honest. Okay, I would say that especially getting a little bit older where like my peer group is older and my like role model age of people is older, I'm noticing more the people who really feel the best when they play it safe and the people who are very risk averse. And so I would say that throughout my life, and now that I see that, I can look back on earlier times in my life because I've always been like a risk taker, as some people would say, even though I don't always see it like that. There's a lot of people, like the vast majority of people, who really want you to play it safe and they really want to advise you to not do the risky things. But then will be the same people who then on the other side of that, when you have seen success, are going to be excited for you and happy for you. But they told you in the beginning to not do it. And those type of people and that type of advice, I think, is really evident for me now because there's things that like I'm in the process of starting and wanting to launch for this summer, and then you just notice the people that you talk to about it or want to sounding board with it. A lot of people will tell you not to do things because they're scared of it. And so I just think I don't even know how to explain that, but it's just kind of knowing the source, or you have to really know yourself in a solid way so that when advice or input is brought to you, you can feel secure in who you are so that you maybe do or don't take that type of advice, if that makes sense.
Well, they say like if you want to do something, don't ask for advice because people always speak negativity into it, and not even in
Mm-hmm.
like a mean way. They just
Right.
are like want you to be safe and take the safe route because it's maybe what they would do.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Okay. One more additional question. I just came up with it because you guys are all positive people, and I want to know what's on your minds out there. And this is a Bri thing, kind of. I think she's probably asked this of me many times. What's one thing that you're looking forward to in the next, I don't know, 2-3 months? And Brandi, you can't say your baby, although that's obviously the answer.
I love that. As it should be the answer.
It
Yes, it
definitely
should.
is. Definitely is. Well, I think kind of along those lines, just being able to like take time and invest in my family. You know, Peyton goes to space camp every summer. And so the baby, we're all going down, and then
Cool.
Peyton will be at space camp, and then we're going to take a little extra time and just go to the beach in Florida and just spend a lot of family time together. So I think I'm just looking forward to investing back into my family and really enjoying the time.
That's a really good one. Very
I
positive.
love that.
Next? Who's next?
Jillian.
Great, I can be next. So you guys aren't like horoscope people, so I'm gonna sound crazy for a little bit. But they say I'm a Libra, and they say that we are now, whatever the planets did, we're like in our villain era, where we're like done being people pleasers.
Hell
And
yeah.
I'm like feeling that so much. So I have just been, and I love Bri that you said like ask anybody, because I'm like have cut off so many people that I thought would be like next to me forever, but I finally like had this whatever in me where I'm like, you know what? I need to be looking inside and making decisions from what I want. And realizing that I've never thought about what do I actually want my whole entire life, And so now I'm in this where I'm like, I'm just really looking forward to all the great decisions that I know I'm making because they're coming from a place that feels so much more true who I am. And not having that weird push and pull of like, what would somebody else think of this? And so I have a lot of decisions that I have am making right now and coming up ahead, but I've been very like, I feel like for once I know that this might make somebody mad or this might not be what someone else would do, but like I don't care. And so I'm finally there. And so I'm really just looking forward to how all of these decisions will play out because I feel grounded in them and confident in them, I guess, for the first time in my life ever of making decisions. So,
How many tough conversations have you had to have to get to where you're at right now?
so many. I actually, this sounds so ridiculous, but you like are at the bottom of the barrel when you're going through this like shedding of the people pleasing, and it
It
is
feels like
really
you're doing
hard.
something illegal.
It feels like you should be arrested. And like it feels so bad. I wish that people I sometimes record myself, like I've recorded
Prison.
myself feeling so bad so that I can go back and be like, this is why you change things so that you can no longer feel like that person.
Ooh, that's awesome.
And
That's
Yeah.
yeah, I have
Goggins
like I
savagery.
am
That's
literally
awesome.
like, I look so tore up, you guys. I'm actually gonna find one and screenshot it and send it to you guys because I look so bad. And I like am saying to myself, you're gonna do these really hard things because it's uncomfortable. You're like shedding an identity. And that sounds so stupid because like you're just a people pleaser, but it is really hard. It's like a huge shift. I have cut off like every single of my friends except like one. Every relationship is boundaried. It's crazy. And I feel like it's very isolating and I feel like it's very lonely, but also I have some hope with that. But it's a knowing that like this is an actionable just mindset, if that makes sense. But that change, I mean, it's like a 3-year change is probably how long it took me to really be like where I'm standing solid now, like where I can just say no. Like I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I said no. I didn't give an explanation, and that was the first time. And that's like a literally 3 or more year process
Good for
of
you.
unlearning.
Yeah.
But you feel sick. You feel physically like you're not doing the right thing. And it's so hard to like explain. But then you get over it. You get in your
You felt it
confident
in your stomach
state.
and not your heart. So
Yeah, because
you felt
I'm like
nauseated. You didn't feel like your heart was breaking. You felt nauseated.
1,000%.
Isn't that
Yes.
interesting?
Jillian,
That's
where
so.
are you at in the birth order in your family? Are you the oldest?
Oldest and only.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like
Brandi,
that's
are
an
you the
oldest
oldest?
child. Mm-hmm.
Yep, same.
Yeah. I
Me
Oh,
too.
also
that's
feel
Me
like
too. I'm the
crazy.
oldest.
Look at that.
I do feel like that is like an oldest children thing too. We have a harder time cutting away from the people pleasing.
Because you took care of people, you're responsible for more, there's more rules placed on you, there's more expectation. Totally. Totally good point.
And I've had like very dear friends to me straight up say like, you are so quick to just cut someone off. And I'm like, I was 500% in for forever. And so if I personally am getting to that point, then I feel like it's so legitimate. You know what I mean? You're not
Like
just
it
being
takes
like
so many things to
flippant.
get to that point.
Yes. Yep. Not now. Because now I'm like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
That's not, nope, 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 no.
Yeah, once you like start doing that, it's so liberating. And you're
Yes,
like, why
it's
would I ever put
freeing
myself
in a
through that again?
way. Yep, because you really thought like you were maintaining so much peace by like acting how you were. But then yourself is like the person who's catching the brunt of it little by little. And so then now it's just like you feel very free, even though it can feel a little bit isolating, but you do. It's the craziest, I don't know, feeling.
Well, and if you think about it, like when you're doing things to please others, people pleasing it, that's like the extreme side of just, there is like a sense of doing something that's selfless just because maybe that person would do it for you, or, like sometimes it's good to go out of your way to maybe help somebody. But then when you get to the point of, people pleasing on the extreme side and you really think about it, it's really not helping either parties. And it's
Yes.
making both people like not happy in the long run.
And it's so inauthentic. And I'm like a person that really authenticity and like that is so huge for me. And so I I got to that point because I'm still a helper. Like, I still love just like giving, loving, and serving other people. But I had to move my anchor from like thinking that I'm doing it for what they think it might be to no, I'm doing this because it's what I want to be doing. And I know it is sacrificial. I know it is irritating and inconvenient, but that's my choice to do it out of love rather than this is so annoying, but they want me to do it. Or you know what I mean, if that makes sense. Because I still think
Yeah,
there's a lot of honor in doing those things because it is inconvenient to be in community in general. But that's part of, I guess, what makes it the human, messy thing it is.
yeah, I just had to go through something like that. Not like a cutting someone off, but I basically had to just, back out of a commitment. For me, it's like more commitments. If I commit to something, I feel bad, when I can't do that anymore. And which is so crazy because, like, I'm sure if you put yourself in the other person's position, you would not be that mad if someone told you no, or like,
Right.
it's like on the other side, like I'm always super understandable with people, but for some reason I feel like they're not going to be that way to me. And so I just had to go through this whole thing. And one of my friends is actually a mindset coach. I was talking with him through this like life change I'm doing right now, which is going to working solely online and from home, which is super scary. And I was just like, I just feel bad. Like I committed to this job and these people and I'm helping them. And he's like, do you even hear what you're saying right now? Like you are making yourself miserable and working double time to just not make
Make
someone feel
sure.
bad,
Yeah.
like, and I was just like, yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It was literally that simple. And I said, you know what? And speaking of like manifesting, Jillian, you weren't on the phone with that. So the same week, I had talked to my coach and told him that I needed less distraction during training. And the night before my next session, I dropped my phone in the bathtub and it broke. But before that, my
You did that to yourself, first of all.
yeah, my friend that's a mindset coach, he's like, well, just like picture your ideal day. Like, talk me through it. What does your ideal day look like? And I was like, I'd love to, wake up with my boyfriend, like while he's getting ready for work, and then, make a cup of coffee, feed the cats, get ready, and then go into my office and program, and then go into the shed and work out, and then, finish, communicating with my clients and finish house chores and then make dinner and be able to just chill at home with my boyfriend at night. And like, we live in the country. So I was like explaining, seeing the sunset and stuff, or the sunrise in the morning. Literally the week I went to quit my job, I locked my keys in his car. I'm manifesting, but in like bad ways, but they end up being good. So like I
Yeah.
left my keys in his truck. He drives to school and I couldn't leave. So I couldn't go to my other job, which is an hour drive into town. And I also like was putting my notice in that day and I wanted to do it in person, but had to do it over the phone because I literally couldn't leave the house. And I ended up like accidentally living my perfect day that day. Like it was a stressful day with a
I
couple
love it
conversations
so
I had to
much.
have, but like literally this was the next day and like woke up, did everything I said to him. And like by the end of the day, I was in the gym, or like in our shed gym, and I was like, man, this was the day I just talked about,
That's so crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
once
it
you're
was so,
aligned with that in your mind, I think it just, the dominoes will fall for you.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. What do you have to look forward to, Bri?
Oh, yeah, I forgot the
What are you
question.
looking forward to?
Honestly,
Weird.
just that, just living my perfect day, or not like perfect, but, living the day that I
Living my
had talked
perfect
Striving
about
life,
for.
you guys.
every day. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I'm looking forward to about 5 things, and this is kind of an update for the podcast and everything else too. So it's a good opportunity for to answer some things here. Next week, I will be ending my 31.6 my ass campaign, where I go to the doctor and find out if I've lost any body fat, and I've lost 12 pounds. So I'm hoping
Holy
it's all
cannoli.
fat. I hope it's all fat. This won't be, but
Congrats.
and so I'm looking forward to that. Telling my doctor to shove it up his ass next week, and then
Yes.
I have a June 5th CrossFit competition that I'm doing with a friend. I'm looking forward to that. So that's where my mind is. And then I'm also, as you all know, I'm publishing a book very soon. It's just a lot of work. It's called Cowboys Not Eggheads, which you guys are part of. And it's really cool, you guys. I'm really, really excited for people to see it. It's it's really cool. And then what else is on here?
Can I ask you a question about this or no?
You may.
Okay. Do you think if you wouldn't have gotten sober, if you would be publishing a book?
No,
I literally love that so much.
no
The
way.
butterfly effect of, and would you have gotten sober if you hadn't met Bri?
No. I thought we were
Boom.
going to cry. We weren't supposed to cry in this one. Damn you.
I'm not crying. I actually did cry, but you guys didn't see it because I had no internet out of the Masonic temple where I'm parked.
You bring that up, and yesterday, like, I'm moving out of my apartment, and I came across, well, not came across, it was in like a little envelope, but I picked up Sam's 2-year sobriety chip and then put it in my wallet that he sent me last year.
Well,
Oh
hopefully
my gosh.
next month I got to pay
Okay,
my
people.
dues and give you a 3-year one. But
Oh my gosh.
Crazy.
the other two things, they're very, very exciting that I'm looking forward to. I'm really lucky to have really good coaches, and I'm really lucky to have a really good guitar teacher who pushes me without pushing me. And that's what a good coach is. Somebody who got me sober without telling me to get sober. But he has convinced me to play on stage, like me standing up playing guitar, playing a song at his dad's tribute event in August. And so
As you should.
I've been practicing every day. And so damn him, now he's got me practicing because I don't want to make an ass of myself. But I think if I practice twice a day, I can do this. So that's in August. And it's a life goal that I've had along with stand-up comedy, but that's coming. That's later on.
So can we come to this?
Love it.
One scary thing at a time.
Yeah,
Well, hold on.
exactly. Well, the skit is already written, so it's just sitting on my desk. And then I'm tossing out an idea of a new podcast, listeners. So I really don't know what we're going to air your guys' podcast next week, and then after that it'll be the first pure cowboy on Cowboys Not Eggheads, John Ravenscroft. Brandi knows John. He's like 100%, 125% cowboy. It's so awesome. He's like the only one I could find who would talk to me. Anyway, and then I don't know. I'm not saying Cowboys Not Eggheads is over, but it's going to be on rest for quite some time. But I have a new concept for podcast, and it's going to be called The Final 10. And I'll interview anybody. Doesn't matter if I know them or not. And there's just one question, and the podcast is going to be 10 minutes long. And the question is, what are you going to do in the final 10 minutes of your life?
Oh, that's sick. I love it.
Ba-boom. So anyway, listeners and girls, I just want to let you know that looking forward to something is very, very important. It's something I've done all my life in very dark days and in very light days. I always, since the age of 14, have had something to look forward to. So I'm glad that you all are looking forward to something, and I'm going to be monitoring you all to make sure that we get this done. And I look forward to April 25th when Jillian's going to come work out with me. Maybe Brandi will come. No, maybe not. Never mind.
Brandi
The
could
stairs
come
are hard right now.
and-
I'm like,
yeah.
oh.
And look at us from the car.
Exactly.
I do have that in my calendar. Good thing.
I am
Anything else?
nesting like crazy though, and I spread 51 bags of mulch and planted some plants, and so
You have
the
to get it
baby's
ready,
room is
girl.
not ready. The baby's room is not ready. The crib is not set up. It's not painted, but the landscaping looks great. So
The yard is mulched, and that's what matters.
Nesting. Thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your friendship. And this has just been a little fun 3-series kind of a deal. Who knows? If we come back, maybe we'll do a 4th. So thank you.
And thank you, Sam, for introducing us to each other, because I feel like we've made lifelong friends through this. So this has been really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Very rewarding. Toodaloo, mother truckers.